the man with the plan. So, let's see. In the last episode, I don't remember where I left off, but I did surf the Craigslist, and I stumbled across a generator. I believe it is a 1959 2-71, a Detroit, a diesel, 3-phase, 20 kilowatt generator. The individual that I purchased it from said that it hasn't run in years, but it was running the last time it was used. So I said to myself, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. The price was somewhat right. So I called my buddy Steve and I says, hey bud, can I borrow your flatbed truck to go pick this up? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe you should come with me, and maybe I'll have to rent a small backhoe to lift it up out of the shed to get it on top of your flatbed. And he said, yeah. And then 20 minutes later he says, oh, I can't do it Saturday. And I'm like, oh, okay, no sweat. How about next Saturday? Yeah, next Saturday. Okay. So I called the owner of the generator and I said, hey, I got a transportation issue. My buddy can't make it Saturday. It's out of my control. He's got to take care of some family issues or something. But either way, whatever the excuse is, even though it doesn't have to be an excuse, it's his truck. If he says no, he can't do it, he don't have to provide an excuse. So basically, the guy was, oh, well, if you don't come pick it up this weekend, I'm probably going to be leaving town for a couple weeks. Won't be maybe like another 3 weeks before you can come and pick it up. And so I started scratching my head. Well, what can I do? So he sent me a picture of the shed that it's in, and there is a like a foot drop out of the front door of the shed. So I thought, well, maybe if I rented a car hauler with a winch on it, that foot drop, we could back into it, throw some 4x4s in the doorway, and winch it straight out onto the car hauler. So I went, rented a car hauler, called the guy, told him I can do it on Friday. What was it, Saturday? It was Friday. And so basically I picked it up with the bed no breakfast, drove to Indian Springs, stopped at the Terribles at Indian Springs, used the restroom, which I thought was pretty ingenious, a very entertaining restroom. Then I went to the casino, dropped $20 in the video poker while I waited for him to call me to tell me he was nearby and en route. He called me. I lost $15, and I was up 26, but I looked at my watch. Well, I looked at my phone because I'm not wearing a watch. But I looked at my phone, and I'm like, I got like another hour, maybe hour and a half to sit here. So I gave it back. And that's the way it works. The longer you play, the longer you stay, the longer you lose. So he called me up. I jumped in the truck. I met him. We drove into the property, which was kind of a off-grid situation. And some of the climb on the hills were a little steep. But The bed no breakfast handled it superbly. The track was wide enough where the trailer didn't run up on the side of the road, and everything seemed honky-dory. Got up to the place, backed it in. We disconnected some of the wiring on it, disconnected the exhaust pipe, then went out to the roof, and then we jacked it up just enough to get a chain under the frame and the railroad tie that it was laying on. So underneath here was like a 12, I think it was a 12 by 12 railroad tie underneath on either side. And so we wrapped the chain around here and under the railroad tie, and then hooked the winch to the chain, manipulated the length of the chain in front so it would slide over to the doorway. And so then I also put the chain on this side here, right under the railroad tie. So as we winched it, it moved exactly the way we wanted it to. The both of us, the guy, I think his name was Tom, that was helping me move it, the both of us were amazed at how easily it shuffled over to the door frame the way we exactly planned it. So we got to the door frame and we pulled it just a little bit too far, maybe about like 2 inches, less than 2 inches, maybe an inch too far, and the little control panel here started to hit the door frame. So we adjusted the chain to pull it that way, and it pulled it that way. And basically, boom, it came out of the door frame. We put the 4x4s underneath it with a piece of plywood on top, and that sucker just slid right out perfectly onto the trailer. The two of us were extremely amazed, right? So then we had to jack it up to get it out from under the old railroad ties, because the one side was rotted in half. So we jacked it up, pull the rotted side out, let it down, right? Put some 2x4s underneath it to keep it up a little bit. Then we jacked up the other side, pull the railroad tie out, dropped it down. Then went back on the other side, jacked it up, pull the 2x4s out, boom. Put 2 chains on the back, wrapped around here to the tie downs on the back of the car hauler. One on that side, one on that side. I put the winch on the car hauler right in front, right here on that frame, and cinched it down. Now as we're driving out, of course, somebody's coming in the other direction, and it's like there's nowhere to pass. It's a one-laner, right? So the woman was looking at me, giving me a dirty look through a windshield, but what do you want me to do? I got a trailer, dude. I can't back up. So she had to back up maybe 200 yards to the next turn. And then instead of just backing up and just moving over out of the way for the turn, she stops in the middle of the turn and gets out. And I'm like, well, I thought this is kind of like a simple understanding of how it works when you're on a one-track road, right? If the other person has got a bigger truck or the person's got a trailer, right? As a courtesy, you're the smaller vehicle, right? You back up and let the person pass. So now I'm wondering, what's she gonna do? Is she gonna give me a lecture? Is she gonna ask me, do I have permission to take the generator? I don't know. What's running through my mind, right? So I can see on her face as she's walking up to the truck that she's really going to be real bitchy about it, right? So I right away say, hey, really appreciate you backing up for me, thanks, right? So I don't know if that diffused the situation a little bit, but in a let's say in a curt tone, she's like, oh, is there anybody else behind you? And I'm like, no, I'm the only one. And it's like, oh, all right. And then she walks back to a car and pulls over to the side of the road. And I pass. And I'm thinking that was somewhat, not inappropriate, but she could have pulled over, rolled the window down, and as I passed, she could have said, hey, is there anybody else behind you? Not blocking the road, right? Like she was going to cause aggravation for me. Anyway, that drama out of the way, I get to the main road, and now the main road heading downhill, it's all downhill. And that extra weight on the back of the trailer and the trailer itself on the bed no breakfast just wanted to push, just wanted to roll, right? So I had to drop it in low and just, engine brake it most of the way down. So when I got down to the intersection of 95 to make my left back towards Indian Springs and up around the backside of Crystal, because it's flat and it's less mileage anyway than driving all the way back around to Vegas and then up over the hump, drag it over the hump. So I stopped, made sure the chains were tight, cinched it down. I ran a couple of straps, ratchet straps around here sideways and around here sideways. This way it was pulling this way, pulling that way, and the cable was pulling that way, and those chains in the back were pulling in either direction. This way I would get no wiggle or wobble whatsoever. So stopped at Indian Springs at the casino, the truck stop again, and I stopped in and I got a burger and fries and a soda, relaxed a bit, and then carried on my merry way. I got around the 160 off of 95, past Crystal, coming up, and I guess it's an incline over there. However, it's not a steep incline, but it's a long incline. And then I noticed that the bed no breakfast was getting warm, and the gauge was on the 8 in the normal on a Ford gauge, which is on the high side. Usually it runs right in the middle of the R and the M. And plus I got a 180 thermostat in there, so it runs actually on the O. So I got kind of concerned there. Pulled into the road where I have to travel, and then that's also an incline, and I'm watching that gauge and it's staying right there at the L, and I'm like, well, let me park here and let it run, and I'll rev it up and cool it down a little bit. So I got it down to the R and the M, and then I proceeded to bring it up in here. Well, I did one of the stupidest things. I pushed it, and now the bed no breakfast needs a new transmission. So now I'm in the ditch or the river wash, and transmission in first gear is just going woo, and I'm getting smoke, and I'm dripping oil from the front seal. Not good. It's about 6 o'clock at night, and what am I gonna do? So I walk up so I can see the tower, realize I have a signal on the cell phone, and I call Steve. Hey dude, I did something real stupid. And the first words out of his mouth were, how much bail money do I need? Well, not that stupid, but stupid. So he was going to come up at night and help me hook up the beast and pull it up because I needed somebody to steer. And then I told him, no, forget it. Don't come up tonight. Do it tomorrow morning, right? We'll do it tomorrow morning, Saturday. And maybe it'll be a little cooler. But for some reason, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, it was in the 60s in the morning, right? 70s the next day, and the temperature dropped to a little bit below 100. Now, in the rental car, it says it's 106 out. So, I don't know what's going on with the weather. It ain't warming, it ain't cooling, it's just hot. So Saturday morning, I told him I would call him. He said he'd be up at 7. I told him I would call him and go over the final instructions to get up here, because he's never been up here. And so you have to kind of know your way on the back roads to get here, otherwise you get lost. And then when you get lost on these one-track roads, there's no place to turn around, and that becomes an aggravated situation. And I didn't want to hear that from him, seeing he's going to be my savior and bail me out, right? So I walk up to the point to get to the antenna, and I have no network connection whatsoever. And it's like, why? Why? So finally, at around 8:30, I get network connection, and I call him, and he's telling me, yeah, I'm packing up. I said, dude, bring up some chains just in case. I mean, I have some, but just bring up some chains just in case, because we know how I break chains, right? Bring some chains, bring some water, because I'm down to my last gallon of water, and make sure you fuel up at the gas station in town before you drive out here, because I don't want you to drive up here and then get here and say, oh, I only got a quarter tank of gas. Then we'll be in some real muck. So he called me at about 9:30 and said, hey, I'm in town, I'm getting gas, meet me out at the road. I'm like, oh man, that's a 4-mile hike, right? Fortunately, it was cloudy yesterday, and I'm like, all right, no problem. So I grabbed my half a gallon of water, and I started walking down. And as soon as I got maybe, I don't know, half a mile, the clouds blew away, and now I'm baking in the sun, right? Took my shirt off, put my head down, and just trudged through it. I got, I would say, maybe 3 miles. I got about 3 miles. And here he comes around the bend. I could see the dust in the road around the bend, and I'm like, well, I hope it's him. And sure enough, it was him. So that was excellent. Anyway, jumped in his truck. He had the air conditioner on. I was like, oh. We drove up. I already had the beast hooked up to the van, ready to go. So all I needed was for him to jump in the van and start it. This way I had power steering and brakes just in case something happened. And we pulled it the rest of the way in. As I had planned originally, I pulled it right up to that spot right there. Pulled the beast right up next to the trailer. Chained it up to the eyelids on the generator. One here and one there. And easily lifted it up off the deck, backed up, boom, then dropped it right here gently on the 4x4s. So that went somewhat smooth. Then we disconnected the bed no breakfast from the trailer, hooked the chain to the back of his hitch, and pulled me up around there. We disconnected the chain, and I put it in reverse, and the truck started backing up. And I'm like, oh, maybe that gallon of fluid I put in last night is still in the pan, and it's giving me enough fluid to back up. So I backed up, then I put it in drive, and it drove forward. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get lucky and we won't have to tow the trailer out, disconnect it down by the road, and then come back and drag the bed no breakfast out. Maybe I could drive it out. So we hooked up the trailer. He made a U-turn, and I told him, why don't you start heading down real slow. I got to close up the beast, close up the can, and I'll start driving down. Well, it's downhill, right? Everything is downhill, right? That's where the road is all the way down there. This is all downhill. So if I have a problem, I can coast, right? The only place I can't coast is in the river wash, where I got to drive up to get back over. But once I get up out of the river wash, it's all downhill. Easy peasy. Fire it up. I made it all the way down to the road, and it wasn't leaking anymore. And I'm like, all right, well, that's a bonus. I'm not going to question why. I'm going to go with it. So we got to the road, and I told them I'm going to stop at the mailbox, pick up my mail, and if I'm not standing outside the truck waving at you, just keep going, and I'll get up behind you. So he passed. I got up behind him. Now that I noticed that I'm on flat ground, and I have to, and it was kind of an incline to get out of there. That first gear is jacked up bad. It's like until I get to like 25, 30, and then it shifts, and then the transmission's rolling real smooth. So I got up behind him, and I'm like, you know what? Let me pass him and get in front of him, because this way, if it blows up, I'll be in front of him, and he won't have to make a U-turn with the trailer to come get me. So I passed him, got ahead of him quite a while, and made it all the way into town. It's like, oh, what a relief. So we made it over the hump, back to his place. We sprayed down the trailer, washed the trailer down, and I didn't lose any fluid, but the fluid is definitely charcoaly, and you can smell it. So it's parked now, and tomorrow is Monday. I got to call a transmission man to make an appointment to bring it in so they can fix it. And it's just interesting how I was just seeing in the last video there that yeah, I keep on top of this van, and it's, you know, always up and running. I got to keep it up 100%, and then I go and do something extremely stupid by pushing it, right? So another lesson learned. And so yeah, Dummy Dan So now I rented this SUV, or mini SUV, and what I'm gonna do today is, because I have I did bring my toolboxes, some water, and the chains that I dragged with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape this up, tape that up, and then I got a tarp, cover it with a tarp,